For real, though, I'm running out of creative and fun ways to say that Penn State got their guy in recruiting. So I guess, Penn State got their guy in recruiting. It's Cristian Driver, 4-star athlete from Texas, son of Pro Bowl receiver Donald Driver, 229th ranked player in the nation according to Rivals. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. This is T. Frank's Film Room, and Donald Driver obviously plays a big part in all of this as a former NFL wide receiver at the highest level of his profession. Coached by James Franklin at the Green Bay Packers, that relationship pays off. Penn State offers a great opportunity for Cristian in a couple of different ways. First off, Cristian wants to follow his dad's footsteps. He wants to play receiver. From everything I've been hearing, he wants to start there. Most schools in the country see Cristian as a safety, and Penn State themselves sees him as a safety, probably as the better position, but they are going to give him the opportunity to follow in his dad's footsteps. So today on T. Frank's Film Room, we're going to take a look at Cristian at both positions and see what skills translate, why he believes in himself as a receiver, and maybe which one will fit better in the long run. So before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube page so you can see all of the breaking news from the recruiting area in T. Frank's Film Room, like, I don't know, the son of a former Pro Bowl receiver, which for some reason is just more fun. It's a little more exciting when you recognize the name, right? Just a little bit. Nothing against the other guys, but hey, you remember Donald Driver? Me too. I also feel old because of that. So we're going to get into the film now, but remember, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button on our YouTube page. Now, one thing I'm going to warn you about this video is I don't just watch the highlights. I go and I find full games so I can get the full picture of who these players are, and sometimes the video isn't the best, and this one in particular is a little bit rough. So, I mean, it does look like I drank a bunch of beer and then used the last beer bottle to film, but that's not the case. It's just, that's what we're working with today. But I promise, I don't think I misidentified anybody. Cristian Driver, 4-star athlete. What makes him so great? What makes him the 43 other schools want him? Just like his dad, he is a great athlete in a lot of underrated ways, including acceleration and burst. As a safety, this makes him a great player filling in run support. He is a force patrolling the sideline to sideline type of player who can get to the football in the flat and behind the line of scrimmage. Penn State, this is a great translatable skill for the Nittany Lions, who use their boundary safety in a similar way to be able to play over the box and then to get to the football wherever it may be in the run game. Cristian Driver, you can see immediately those translatable skills. You do see a little bit of Jaquan Brisker here in that ability to fill downhill as a defender, but it also makes him, the burst makes him be able to cover a lot of ground in a short time frame. So as a receiver, the reverse is true, where he can eat up cushion quite a bit. And again, not to always be a cliche and reference his dad, but his skill sets are really similar to that of Donald Driver, where Driver had that explosive, twitchy athleticism that ate up that corner, that the cushion that the corner had, and then he uses agility and great movement skills, great hip flexibility to then transition out of that and explode in a new direction. As a receiver, the obvious skills are there when it comes to the physical aspects of route running, where he can run routes to any part of the field and he can create dynamic changes of direction, which is something I love. When I'm looking at receivers, that's really what I want. That creates separation underneath. Separation creates yards after catch. That is what you can get a lot with Cristian Driver, the acceleration and the agility in short areas. I love those abilities. So from a physical aspect, you can see that he translates to both positions of safety and receiver. Now, that agility will allow him to play in man coverage. So he's a guy that can patrol the box, he can trigger downhill, and he can also cover in man coverage over the slot. Although I think those positional skills as a slot man corner is sort of pseudo safety, those are still in development. I think that's one area where he's a little bit behind, is I don't know that he's the best man cover player at the moment, but when it comes to teaching, I don't have any problem with his abilities to learn football because he's such a good football player. Because when you look at the positional skills, I can't wait any longer. I love his route running, man. I love the way he runs routes, because all those physical skills are one thing, but he applies them correctly. I don't know, like he's the son of a former NFL receiver. His ability, his efficiency, his moves off the line of scrimmage, like there aren't a lot of them here, but the way he gets off press is professional. He gets deep on guys. He can settle their feet with head fakes, shoulder fakes, and then just the precision. Doesn't have to use speed, just whoop, look at that, first down. That's easy. That's making the position easy. But the efficiency of his feet, watch how he transitions here so naturally and creates all that space for the catch. Those are skills that play at any level of football. And when you have those physical skills in the short area, that makes him a really hard cover as a potential slot, a big slot at 6'1" with room to grow, or as a boundary receiver that is that traditional possession guy, kind of like his dad. So those are all things that I really love about Cristian Driver, the receiver. He is an advanced football player, and to me, I think he was really underused in his offense. From the film I was watching, he wasn't a starter at receiver. He kind of rotated in, and he didn't get a ton of targets. But when you're that open, I just don't know if maybe that doesn't translate with those in-breaking routes and the ability to get separation over the middle. Maybe high school quarterbacks can't see that. Maybe that's not a pass that they're going to deliver, so he wasn't used as much. I would have loved to see more targets for him to get a better idea of him as a football player, and we'll get to that last part in a minute when it comes to his profile as a receiver, because I do think there are some areas where I see why schools want to see him as a safety, because when you look at the other side and those physical skills and how he employs them, he has great recognition and pursuit skills. I couldn't even fit all of the ones that I liked on film. These are just the best ones where he sees the play almost before the quarterback does and gets downhill to the football. He has great recognition, and he can get there, and he can deliver. His tackling is good. I think he can still improve as far as his hit force and his ability to wrap and secure the tackle, but you can see the ability to get there, and for the most part, his abilities as a tackler are great. So when you look at an eraser as a safety, you love this not just from the physical skills, but you want that guy who's the son of a former football player to be at that safety position. He has an advanced understanding of what's going on. He sets the defense. He's got the communication skills, all of those things as a safety that you want to help stabilize the backside of your coverage. Those are all things that you want at safety. Those are great. As far as his positional skills, he's a better receiver, but he's a really good safety. I think as far as the positional skills go, he is an advanced route runner, but he has the potential to be a really, really, really good safety. The one area that will hold him back either way is the top end speed. He's not going to be a number one pursuit safety. He's not going to be able to be a high free safety that runs sideline to sideline. The quickness and the explosiveness are there, but sometimes he doesn't have the speed to make bad pursuit angles to the football. And as a receiver, all the agility and separation, all those things are great, but if you go up against a good corner that's just faster than you, you have to work twice as hard to get open, and that is a real thing with Driver, where he's not going to have the deep speed. I think he ran a 12.03 second 100-meter dash. That's the recorded time we have, so that's good speed. Again, good, but not elite. Not the kind of game-changing speed that makes him an obvious receiver. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is with that speed profile, knowing that his dad had a similar sort of profile that made him a 7th-round pick. Again, an all-pro receiver, but still, evaluators, when it came to talent, were seeing him as a 7th-round pick. Cristian Driver has a similar profile, but, what's the high end there? I think that you can get a little bit faster because at 170 pounds and 6'1", he has room to grow and add explosive muscle to his lower half. The training is obviously there. He's learned from one of the best. He has access to great resources. So I think he can play receiver. Even if his speed never gets demonstrably better, I think he can play receiver. And as a safety, he's more of a too-high safety than like that pure free safety that can roam the middle. But that's fine because Penn State plays a lot of zone coverages. They play a lot of quarter coverages. But if he ever is in a man situation and the offense puts their best receiver in the slot, you might not feel super confident with him being the slot defender over a guy with 4.3 speed. But he's going to do everything in his power from his physical skill sets and his understanding of football to mitigate that guy's advantage of speed. So I do think that, again, the high-end safety play as an all-around player in the run game, a physical presence there with good coverage skills, recognition, and burst to the football. Those are all things that I'm excited to see from Cristian Driver. Now, some of the unknowns on his tape, because usage patterns do determine a lot of what we can see, and as a safety, he's used a lot in the box, but there aren't a lot of plays and a lot of production on the football in coverage. So that, again, that leads back to the speed question or the usage question. And that's where we have a little bit of an unknown in his profile as a safety, where I don't know what he's being asked to do, but his defense almost never had a deep safety in the middle of the field. If that's a mistake, if that's a busted coverage, that's not great, but I don't know that it's not. And on that last play, that's a deep coverage play where he's able to get over to the boundary receiver and make a play on the ball. So we have evidence good and bad, but that's really all the evidence that we do have are a handful of plays, and those are just two of them. On the flip side, as a receiver, this is my biggest question, because you can be slow, and I don't mean slow in that he is unplayable as a receiver, but not that elite speed guy, and that's what everyone's looking for. Just remember, that's what everybody's looking for is 4.3 speed. He might be a 4.5, and that's fine. You can win that way if you win other ways. Another area that I don't have enough information, but we have kind of a mixed bag, is his ability to break tackles. Here, you don't see the physical domination, and his tackle force and his ability to wrap up and secure players is hit or miss as well. But you see on these routes, he's getting the separation, he's getting the yards, but he's not breaking any plays as a big physical possession receiver to create that extra play, that dynamic presence. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't always, because on this play, this is the one where I found it's the first one on his highlight tape. It's obviously what he wants you to see. He does have that ability to break tackles, but it's the consistency of it and the frequency that I don't really know at this point, because there isn't enough usage at receiver in high school on film to really get an idea. He was used primarily as a safety. So going forward, if he wants to play receiver, he does have to add one of two things. Either he has to get faster, or he has to get stronger and break more tackles. If it were me, I would add the weight, I would add the strength, and play up to his natural skills of his great agility and his great burst off the line of scrimmage, and then just become an angry football player. Just become the physical dominant presence that you cannot tackle with one guy. That's going to lead to a ton of big plays as a receiver, and it plays more into your natural skills, but if you can get both, for sure. Then as a safety, I think it's a better, more complete profile, because we see the run abilities, we see the natural places that you want to see the skills, and then it becomes the deep coverage, but we have an idea of his intelligence, we have an idea of his coachability, and his ability to play and to burst to the football. So that is the more complete profile at the moment, but then it becomes the question of ball production. Can he make plays on the ball? Can he get you turnovers? Does he have that next level instinct? That is one thing that I'd like to see in his senior film, is more plays on the ball. But if he's not given those opportunities, then we won't really have the opportunity to learn that. Ultimately, as a good athlete in all of the senses of the word, his ability in the short area and to run, but maybe not the best top speed athlete. The question is, where do you want to put those elite guys? And most people put your elite athletes on offense now. You want to have your fastest guys playing receiver. You want to have them as the dynamic threats. But for me, if I have a guy that I know what he is and what he isn't, I'd rather him be dictating the situation as the receiver instead of reacting to the guy that has elite speed. I want Cristian Driver to be the driving force behind the play. The defensive back, if he doesn't know where Cristian is going and he has that elite change of direction and route running skills, he can win more times and maybe has as high of a ceiling as a receiver as he does a safety. Ultimately, with that lack of speed, though, most people are going to see him as a safety in a two-high or quarters defense where he can be that guy that doesn't have to cover the entire field. So a lot of different paths forward for Cristian Driver. That is his film analysis here on T. Frank's Film Room. Do you think he should play safety? Do you think he should play receiver? Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, make sure you subscribe to Blue White Illustrated here on our YouTube page so you don't miss any more of Penn State football commitments and their film breakdown on T. Frank's Film Room.